The whole town of Ibadan couldn't stop talking about one thing. Amaka and Tunde's wedding. It felt like a fairy tale coming to life. Everyone knew Amaka. She was the kind of woman who lit up every room with her smile. Soft-spoken, graceful, and always kind. People admired her, not just for her beauty, but for the way she treated everyone, from little children to market women. Tunde, on the other hand, was the golden boy, handsome, wealthy, successful, the kind of man parents prayed for their daughters to marry. Together, they looked like something out of a movie. People said they were the perfect couple, the kind of love story that gave others hope. The town buzzed for weeks. Tailors were overbooked. Hotels were sold out. Makeup artists raised their prices. Everyone wanted to be there. Invitations were like gold. If you got one, you posted it proudly on your status. The church was being decorated like royalty was coming. Flowers, lights, music rehearsals. It was the event of the year, but behind all the sparkle and celebration, something darker was hiding. Amaka smiled in every photo. Tunde shook every hand, but not everything perfect is real. Perfection, sometimes, is a well-dressed lie, and this particular lie was about to unravel faster than anyone expected. No one could have guessed what was coming next. The fairy tale everyone admired was about to turn into a storm, and the first crack was already forming. The night before the wedding, while Amaka was resting and preparing for the biggest day of her life, Tunde and his groomsmen were at a fancy hotel in Ibadan. It was supposed to be a normal bachelor's night, just drinks, music, laughter, and maybe some harmless fun. That's what everyone expected. But somewhere between the loud music and the flowing alcohol, things crossed a line. Tunde, dressed in a crisp white shirt and gold chain, was already tipsy. His friends hyped him up, cheering and teasing like boys back in university. It started with drinks. Then came a private room. Then came a few girls. Just for fun, one of the guys had said. No big deal, right? Just company. But one girl stayed close to Tunde. Too close. Whispers, smiles, then a kiss. And not just a kiss. The kind that had no business happening the night before a wedding. One of his friends, drunk and laughing with zero sense of judgment, pulled out his phone and recorded it. Just a few seconds. Tunde, with his arms around the girl, kissing her like he had forgotten all about Amaka. Then, in his drunken pride, that same friend posted it to his Instagram story. Just for the guys to laugh about later, he thought. It was meant to disappear in 24 hours. But it didn't disappear fast enough. Someone saw it. Screenshots were taken. The video was saved before it could vanish. Within minutes, it started spreading. From one friend to another. From one private message to a group chat. "Is this not Tunde?" someone asked. "Wait, is that not one of the bridesmaids?" Another replied. People zoomed in. They paused. They whispered. The night that was meant to be a quiet celebration turned into a social media wildfire. Back at the hotel, Tunde had no idea. He was laughing, drinking, unaware that his perfect image was already cracking. The damage was done. The video had left the group chat. It was now in the hands of people who didn't care about privacy. They cared about drama. And while Amaka was sleeping peacefully, dreaming of walking down the aisle, strangers were watching the man she loved kiss someone else. The betrayal was already viral before she even opened her eyes. One foolish moment, one careless post, one kiss. That was all it took to change everything. The wedding everyone waited for was no longer a love story. It was about to become something else entirely. When the video started making rounds, people couldn't believe what they were seeing. It wasn't just Tunde in that hotel room. The woman he was kissing, it wasn't some random stranger. It was someone everyone recognized, someone close to the bride, someone in the wedding party. The shock hit like lightning. It was Ngozi. Yes, Ngozi, Amaka's own bridesmaid, her friend, her sister, the one who helped pick the wedding colors, the one who held Amaka's hand through dress fittings, the one who cried during the bridal shower speeches like she was truly happy for her friend. And now, she was in that video, kissing the groom. At first, people didn't believe it. No, it can't be her, some said. Maybe it just looks like her. But the internet is full of detectives. Someone found her bracelet in the video, the same one she wore in her latest Instagram post. Someone else pointed out the exact hairstyle she'd posted just hours before. The truth was loud and clear. Ngozi was the woman in the video. She thought no one would notice. She thought it would stay a secret, buried in that night of bad decisions. But social media never sleeps. The video was everywhere. WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram story, private DMS. People zoomed in, slowed it down, analyzed it frame by frame. Within hours, the entire city knew what had happened. Strangers were calling her name like they knew her personally. She couldn't even walk into a salon without people staring. The betrayal cut deeper because it wasn't just about a kiss. It was who did it. Amaka had trusted Ngozi with everything, from her wedding plans to her heart. They had been friends since university. They laughed together, cried together, dreamed about their weddings together. Amaka had chosen her to stand by her side on the most important day of her life. And behind her back, Ngozi was kissing her fiancé. No one could understand why. Was it jealousy? Was it revenge? Or had it always been something secret between her and Tunde? People speculated, but one thing was clear. It was betrayal in its purest form. Ngozi didn't post anything after the video leaked. She stayed silent, hoping maybe the noise would die down, but it didn't. Instead, it got louder. Her phone rang non-stop. Friends, reporters, people asking for her side of the story. But even if she wanted to explain, nobody was in the mood to listen. In the eyes of the public, she had committed the ultimate betrayal, not just breaking a friend's trust, but doing it with a smile on her face and a bridesmaid dress in her bag. The wedding hadn't even happened yet, but the damage was already done. Amaka didn't know yet, but when she did, the world would be watching. The morning of the wedding started like a dream. The sun was shining gently over Ibadan, birds chirping, and the entire house was buzzing with energy. Makeup artists were setting up, hairdressers were curling and pinning, photographers were capturing every smile, every soft moment. Amaka sat calmly in front of the mirror, wearing a silky white robe, her face glowing. Today was supposed to be her day, the one she had waited for, prayed for, dreamed about since she was a little girl. Her white wedding gown hung on the door, delicate and perfect. Everything was going as planned. At least, that's what everyone thought. Then, the door suddenly opened. It wasn't a makeup artist or a bridesmaid. It was her cousin Ada, rushing in, eyes wide, hands shaking, clutching her phone. Her face said it all. Something was wrong. "Amaka," she whispered, breathless. "You need to see this." Confused, Amaka turned away from the mirror. Ada handed her the phone. No words, just a video. Amaka pressed play. There it was, clear as day. Tunde and Ngozi, kissing, laughing, holding each other like they didn't have a care in the world. The room went still. The air felt heavy. Even the music in the background seemed to stop. Everyone froze, waiting to see how Amaka would react. Someone reached for her hand. Another held their breath. But Amaka didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stared. Her hands, which had been steady all morning, froze. Her lips parted slightly. For a moment, it looked like she would fall apart. But then, she did something no one expected. She smiled. A soft, calm, knowing smile. Not one of happiness, but of clarity. A moment of sharp truth wrapped in quiet strength. She stood up slowly, handed the phone back to Ada, and looked at herself in the mirror one last time. Then she whispered, "Let's go." No tears, no panic, no drama, just peace and power. Her bridesmaids were silent. Some were crying, some were confused. But Amaka, she walked with grace. She put on her wedding gown step by step, like nothing had changed. But everything had. Her eyes had seen the truth, and her heart had made a decision. That walk down the aisle would still happen, but not the way anyone expected. Behind her, the makeup artist stood frozen, brush in hand. The photographer lowered his camera. Even her mother, who had been bustling around minutes before, sat down slowly, watching her daughter turn into something stronger than a bride, a woman ready to face pain with dignity. Because Amaka knew something in that moment. She knew the world was about to witness not just a wedding, but a reckoning, and she was ready. The church was full, every seat taken, every eye sparkling with excitement. Guests were dressed in their finest lace and jewel, phones out, snapping selfies and group photos. The air smelled of perfume, flowers, and expensive dreams. Soft music played from the speakers, and whispers filled the room. People chatting about how beautiful everything looked, how perfect the couple was, how this was going to be the wedding of the year. Tunde stood at the altar, looking sharp in his custom suit, smiling proudly. He waved to a few friends in the front row. To him, the worst was behind him. The bachelor night drama had been buried, or so he thought. He looked calm, confident. He thought Amaka didn't know. He thought it was still going to be his day. Then the music changed. People turned. The doors at the back opened. Amaka walked in, but she wasn't smiling, and she wasn't alone. Behind her, 2 ushers rolled in a projector screen. Another held a laptop. A hush fell over the crowd. Whispers turned into confusion. What was going on? Then the screen lit up. A video started playing. At first, the room was quiet, just the sound of Tunde's voice, laughing. Then came the kiss. Him and Ngozi, clear, unmistakable, caught in the act. The same man standing at the altar. The same Ngozi who was supposed to be sitting quietly among the bridesmaids. Gasps exploded across the church. Aunties shouted. Uncles stood up. Some people covered their mouths. Others looked around in shock, hoping it was a prank, but it wasn't. This was real. It was raw, and it was happening live. Tunde's smile faded instantly. His eyes widened. He looked at the screen, then at Amaka, then around the room like he wanted to disappear. But it was too late. Amaka stood tall, her white dress glowing under the light. She didn't say a word. She just let the truth play itself. Ngozi, somewhere in the second row, was already slipping out, trying to disappear into the crowd. Chairs moved. Some people rushed to stop the video. Others tried to calm the shouting guests. The priest looked at the screen, then at Tunde, and walked out. Just like that. Bible still in hand, face tight with disappointment. He left the altar without saying a word. The whole room was in chaos. People started filming. Phones were up. Did you see that? Jesus. Ha! What kind of wedding is this? Voices echoed from every corner. But through it all, Amaka stayed calm. No screaming, no tears. She stepped forward, holding the microphone, and simply said, I wanted everyone to see the kind of man standing at the altar today. This is not my husband, not today, not ever. Then she turned, lifted her gown slightly, and walked out. The guests didn't know whether to follow her or stay seated. The bride had just exposed the groom, played the proof in front of the world, and walked away like a queen. The wedding they all came for had turned into a war zone, and Amaka had just dropped the bomb. Amaka stood at the front of the church, every eye glued to her. The video had just finished playing, and the room was filled with silence, the kind that makes your heart pound. Tunde looked like a shadow of himself now, his hands shaking, his face pale. He tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come out. The man who once smiled so boldly was now frozen in shame. She didn't need to say much. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She didn't cause a scene. She just reached into her pocket, pulled out the wedding ring, and walked slowly toward him. The room watched, breath held. When she reached him, she looked him straight in the eyes, calm and steady. Then she held out the ring and placed it gently in his hand. This was meant for someone honest, she said softly. Not you. No anger, no drama, just truth. Then she turned around and walked out. At first, no one moved. Then the murmurs started. Cameras clicked. Phones went up. People followed, some out of shock, some out of respect, some simply because they needed to see what she would do next. As she stepped outside the church doors, the sunlight hit her like a spotlight. Her white dress blew slightly in the breeze. Her head held high, her steps slow but strong. Paparazzi waiting outside snapped photos like crazy. Reporters scrambled to get a quote. People cheered. Strangers clapped. The video was already uploading. Before she could even get into the car, someone had gone live on Instagram. The caption, she said no at the altar. Queen energy. Within hours, that clip was everywhere. On TikTok, on blogs, on WhatsApp statuses. People couldn't stop talking about her poise, her courage, the way she didn't break down. She didn't beg. She didn't fight. She walked. By evening, the video hit 1.2 million views. Hashtags started trending. Amaka the Queen. Know your worth. Not today, Tunde. Twitter was on fire. Everyone had an opinion, but almost all agreed on one thing. Amaka didn't walk out as a broken bride. She walked out crowned. At her family house, friends and cousins surrounded her. Some hugged her tightly, others just stared in awe. You were so strong, one whispered. Amaka smiled gently, tired but proud. She had walked into that church ready to marry. She walked out with something more important, her dignity. Tunde stayed behind, trying to explain himself to people who no longer cared. Ngozi had already disappeared, but Amaka, She was trending for all the right reasons. It wasn't the wedding anyone expected, but it was the moment no one would ever forget. And for Amaka, it wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something powerful. The moment the video went viral, Ngozi's life began to fall apart. And fast. She had gone into hiding. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Her WhatsApp was full of missed calls and unread messages. People weren't calling to comfort her. They were calling for answers, for gossip, for insults. Her Instagram flooded. Thousands of comments under every photo. Some called her names. Others just posted snake emojis. The worst part? Not one message came from a true friend. Because in one night, Ngozi had gone from bridesmaid to backstabber. The betrayal wasn't just about a kiss. It was about who she kissed and who she betrayed. Amaka wasn't just a friend. She was a sister. A woman who trusted her with everything, from her secrets to her wedding. They shared clothes, shared memories, shared dreams. And now, all of that was burned in seconds. Her phone finally buzzed with a call from her boss at the wedding planning agency where she worked. At first, she thought maybe it was support, or a chance to explain. But the voice was cold, no sympathy, just 4 words. "We're letting you go." Ngozi froze. "But it's personal," she whispered. "It has nothing to do with my job." Silence. Then the voice replied, "Your face is now a scandal. No bride wants a cheater at their wedding. We can't risk our name." And just like that, her career was gone. Word spread fast. Their social circle, friends they'd known for years, turned their backs. Group chats removed her quietly. Events she used to be invited to now went on without her. Nobody called. Nobody defended her. People who once praised her style, her smile, her energy, now avoided her like a bad memory. She tried to explain. "It was a mistake," she told one friend. "He kissed me first," she said to another. But it didn't matter. The damage was too deep. People had picked a side, and it wasn't hers. Even her family started acting different. Her younger sister couldn't go to school without hearing whispers. Her parents stopped attending church for a while. The shame wasn't just online. It had followed her home. She thought about texting Amaka, maybe to apologize, maybe to beg. But what could she possibly say? "I didn't mean to." That wouldn't erase the video. That wouldn't undo the betrayal. So she stayed silent. Scrolling through Instagram one night, she saw a clip of Amaka walking out of the church, calm, glowing, proud. The caption read, "Some women fall, others rise." Ngozi stared at the screen for a long time. She had fallen, and nobody was reaching out to catch her. Her downfall had begun, but something told her this was only the start. After the wedding disaster, Tunde thought the storm would pass. He told himself people would forget, that the internet moves on quickly, that the video of him kissing Ngozi was just a moment, a mistake. He believed that with time, everyone would forgive him, that Amaka would even come around. But karma had other plans. Just a week after the wedding explosion, things started falling apart, slowly at first, then all at once. His biggest investor pulled out of their partnership. No warning, no meeting, just an email. "Due to recent events, we are re-evaluating our involvement." That was it. A line that hit like a slap. Then another investor followed, then another. The money that once flowed into his business like a river began to dry up. Clients started backing out quietly. People who used to fight for meetings with him now ignored his calls. His once thriving company began to shake. Projects delayed. Staff resigned. Deadlines missed. His office, once full of energy, became quiet. Everyone was waiting, watching, wondering what would collapse next. Friends who used to praise him suddenly went cold. Invitations stopped coming. Group chats stayed quiet. Some people blocked him altogether. Even the ones who stayed didn't trust him the same. Nobody wanted to be linked with the cheating groom. And the worst part, everyone was still talking. The video didn't disappear like he had hoped. It kept resurfacing in memes, tweets, blog posts, clips of Amaka's quiet exit, her handing him the ring, her words at the altar. She became a symbol of strength. He became a symbol of shame. One evening, alone in his apartment, he threw his phone across the room and screamed, "Why does this keep happening to me?" But deep down, he knew the answer. He caused it. He cheated on the one woman who truly loved him. He kissed her best friend days before their wedding, and he didn't confess. He got caught. He thought he was untouchable, charming enough to talk his way out of anything. But charm can't fix betrayal. He remembered how Amaka had looked at him that day, not with anger, but with disappointment. That cut deeper than any insult ever could. She had believed in him, and he threw it away. Now, he was left with an empty office, unanswered calls, and a reputation in pieces. He watched clips of Amaka's TED Talk trending online. She looked radiant, confident, unstoppable. Her brand, Know Your Worth Weddings, was gaining followers by the hour. She had taken her pain and turned it into power. And Tunde, he was still trying to clean up the mess he created. But the truth was clear. Some messes can't be cleaned, because karma doesn't wait. And when it came for Tunde, it didn't knock. It kicked the door open and took everything. After walking out of her wedding, Amaka could have disappeared. She could have stayed quiet, stayed small, stayed safe. Many people expected her to hide, to cry behind closed doors, to mourn what was lost. But Amaka wasn't built like the pain she felt didn't break her. It woke her up. A few weeks later, she posted a photo on Instagram. No caption, just her standing by a window, wearing a simple white dress. Not the wedding gown, but something even more powerful. Her eyes looked peaceful, but sharp. In 24 hours, that photo went viral. The comments were filled with love, strength, and stories. Women from all over started sharing their own heartbreaks, their betrayals, their moments of silence when they should have walked away. Amaka read every single message, and an idea began to form. She realized what hurt her the most wasn't just the betrayal. It was how many women had been through the same thing and stayed silent. So she made a decision. She would no longer be quiet. If her story could help even one woman choose herself, it would be worth it. That's how Know Your Worth Weddings was born. It wasn't just a brand. It was a movement, a space for brides and women to feel safe, strong, and seen. She started coaching women, not just on planning a wedding, but on building confidence, setting boundaries, healing from heartbreak, and learning how to walk away if they needed to. She taught them that wearing a wedding dress should never come with shame or pressure, that the most important vow is the one you make to yourself. Her message was raw and real, and it spread like wildfire. She was invited to speak at events, women's groups, even universities. And then came the moment that changed everything. Her TED Talk in Lagos. The red circle, the bright lights, the full room. She walked on stage in a flowing red dress, held the mic with steady hands, and told the world her story, from heartbreak at the altar to healing on her own terms. She didn't cry. She spoke with power. And when she ended with the words, "Sometimes leaving is the bravest kind of love," the audience stood and clapped for minutes. That talk trended online for a whole week. People shared clips with the caption, "This is the voice we needed." TV interviews followed. Brand deals came. She started hosting workshops across Nigeria. Brides who once only dreamed of walking down the aisle now dreamed of walking into a life of purpose, thanks to her. Amaka didn't just survive what happened to her. She rose from it. She turned pain into purpose. She turned shame into strength. And most importantly, she reminded women everywhere, you are not just someone's bride, you are already whole. Tunde sits alone in his apartment, the once busy phone now silent. His TV glows in the background, and there she is, Amaka, her face bright, her voice calm, her words powerful. She's on yet another talk show telling her story, not bitter, not angry, just strong. He turns up the volume. He tells himself he's just curious, but deep down, he knows the truth. He misses her, but it's too late. Every time he sees her face, it's a reminder, not of what she lost, but what he threw away. And he's not the only one watching from a distance. Ngozi scrolls quietly on her phone every night. She doesn't like Amaka's posts. She never comments, but she watches every story, every reel, every live session. Her finger hovers over the unfollow button sometimes, but she can't do it. Something keeps her coming back. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's envy. Maybe it's both. What they don't know is Amaka sees them. She knows they're watching. She could have blocked them, erased them, acted like they never existed, but she didn't, because she wanted them to see, not her sadness, not her tears, but her rise, her healing, her glow, her power. She wanted them to know she didn't just move on. She leveled up, and now they don't speak her name. They just watch, from the shadows, as the woman they once broke becomes the woman the world now celebrates. And Amaka, she smiles, knowing she's not haunted by it. they're haunted by her strength.